And hello, everyone. Here we are at almost 5 o'clock, and we got 2 minutes early. We were just chatting in the back room, enjoying getting to know each other and to get to know Pamela. Thank you so much, Pam, for being here. Sarah and I very grateful for you to take your busy time of the day and be on here with us and share with us how you help other people about infertility.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be on your Facebook page and to bring hope and inspiration to people who are out there struggling quietly, some of them, not wanting to talk about their diagnosis of infertility or
Yeah.
even wanting to set foot in a doctor's office to have that diagnosis confirmed.
This is a topic that it feels weird because coming from small country in the East, I mean, people just wash their clothes together and they have a kid. They don't even need to
Yes,
sleep next to
yes,
each other. And here we
yes.
are in this country that sometime I see some of my friends and myself included. I'm sure Sarah's been through a little bit of that journey too. Um, we all want to have a bigger family. We just could not for some whatever reason. And I can't wait to hear your point of view. It could be a lot of stress. It could be a lot of things, but we're going to start the program by having Sarah going to tell us who we are, what we about, and the theme of this month. Yes, please.
Yeah. We will kick off with our introduction. Do you want to record, Lee?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, we are all set. Hello, everyone. Good to be back. I'm Sarah M. Just want to tell you a little bit about me. I grew up in Cambodia, and at one point in my life, when I attend college, terrible thing happened to my country when the communists took over and they turned our life upside down. They basically destroyed our country, and I struggle to survive. But thank goodness, I keep pushing. I keep hoping that I will make it. I never give up hope. And finally, I endured that 4 long years, and I was able to escape from captivity and finally escape from Cambodia. So I am grateful that I was able to get out alive and starting my new life in this beautiful country with a lot of beautiful, kind, compassionate people. And I just said that it's it's my resilience that helped me, that keep me rebuilding my life until now. So this month topic is very, very important to both of us because we both use resilience big time in our life that we rebuild from scratch, from nothing. So resilience can apply to many things. Sometimes it applies to the loss, sometimes apply to the struggle, but for us, it's loss all around loss. So I just want to stop right here so that we can move on with our program. And I just want to say that my journey is recorded in my book, How I Survived the Killing Fields, and it's available on my website, sarahim.com. And I'm also available to speak. If anybody would want to hear my journey and how I can help, just reach out to me or to Lee. We both are speakers. So back to you, Lee.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Yes, resilience is what we counting on our strength, and resilient is keep falling down and keep getting up, keep falling down, keep getting up. And I know that women's are made out of plastic. We're really resilient. We keep bend and then we just spring right back out. So my story is a little different than Sarah, but not that much. The escape of communists is the same. We're just in a different country, uh, different ages, but it's the same era. It's from 1975 to 1979. While she was attending college, I was attending middle school, and life was for me. It was also a very calm period, and then out of a sudden, everything was just going crazy. And for 4 years, we also endure the communists that took over from the North, took over the South. And since we are the minority in Vietnam, so we get a lot more extra oppressions, and government just come in and inventory your home and ransack and confiscate things at any time they want. So it was a lot of tirades and a lot of things that we just could not live. And my parents decided that we're gonna escape and hope for the future. And because of that resiliency, I am benefit every single thing that they suffering right now. Without my parents' resilience, without my parents' endurance and persevere of what we did, I would not be able to be here to share my story. And in short, that I gave a TEDx talk 2 years ago, and I also wrote my story 6 months ago, and it's on Amazon, and it's also available on my website, leatran.com. So to get to know me and connect with me, you can join our Facebook group here, share your story, and you can friend me or follow me, and or you can also opt in on my website for things that going on with this group and many other groups that I'm participating in. Today we have Pamela. Are you Dr. Pamela?
No, I'm a registered nurse with a master's degree.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not, downgrading you, not calling you doctor if you are.
Well, I was going to pursue the DNP program, the doctorate in nursing
Okay.
practice, and I just, I turned it down. It's going to take me a couple more years and maybe
Yeah,
about
I mean, it doesn't matter
$70,000.
what title you have. What you do is incredible to
Yeah.
help a lot of women and couples and family. So we talk about infertility today. And
Yes.
like I give you a little blip, I have gone through a period of time that, thank goodness, I already have a son. At the time, before him, I got a miscarriage. So I was really feeling, not sure, blah, blah, blah. But my faith have actually have given me a child. I believe that. That's another story for another day. But after I have my first child, and I feel like I want a bigger family, just one more. Yeah, it's like it's American culture, right? 2 for 2, right? We had lots of problems, and I went through a lot of stages until the final stage, which I said no. But I would love to hear your story of why are you choosing this career choice, and did you have any, I mean, you don't have to tell us. Is there any personal reason that lead you to this, or you've seen a lot of people that have trouble with this? Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you want to share with us today.
I'm so happy that you mentioned faith. Faith is a really big part of this book that I've written. So just, so that I can put it up close.
Okay.
It's not a personal story of mine. I didn't have infertility. I have 2 children, and it's not for me to brag about because I minister to women who were really suffering with infertility. But if I was infertile, I would wish that I had a nurse like me or I had a book like this. So what really brought me to the field of nursing, since I was in Guyana, and I'm an immigrant, I came from Guyana in my early 20s, hadn't finished college in Guyana. I just came, with a high school diploma and a little bit of upper knowledge, but not a college degree. I was already working in a doctor's office, a general practitioner's office.
It's another fellow immigrant.
Yes, yes. And, there were so many things that went on. When I came here, I was 22. there were adverse conditions that propelled me out of Guyana. And it could have been that I would have gone to a different country. But faith and the hand of God has really guided me. And I got a visa at a time when young people did not get a visa in Guyana.
Oh.
So they think that you were a flight risk. You will come to America and get married and you would not go back. So
What years was that?
this was 1992.
Okay.
And so I went into the embassy just, out of an adverse situation. I wanted to get away from Guyana. And I'm one of 7 siblings. And I was the only one who actually went far into school. I went to high school. I'm the only one who graduated high school, so to speak. And I was the only one who had a job, in the medical profession. And after this adverse situation happened, and that's for another time, I wanted to leave Guyana. And at a time when visas weren't given to people, I ended up getting a visa. And I think that I credit that to the hand of God to begin with. And then when I came here, it wasn't all rosy. It wasn't all a bed of roses. I had a lot of families here. I stayed with my uncle. My mother borrowed money to get me on the plane. And my father died. My mom was a widow. We were 7 kids. I was the third of 7 children. And she struggled. She borrowed money to send me. And I came and I wasn't finding a job. I was very discouraged. I wanted to go back to Guyana. My mother told me that people pay thousands of dollars to come to America, right? They buy visa or whatever they do. And you have the opportunity and you're going to leave to come back to Guyana, that I've given you everything. Remember, no one else went to high school. I did. And I thought about that. I had my suitcase packed and everything, and I decided to stay. So
Glad you did.
Yes, I decided to stay, and I became a babysitter. But the family I babysat for, the father was a doctor. And after I got married and I got my green card and all of that, I was, I lived with that Jewish family for 5 years. I lived in their home and they treated me well. And I was going to go back to school, and he said, for what? And I said, I'll start out by being a medical assistant. And he said, they really liked me. The kids, they really bonded with me. I was with them for 5 years. And he said, let me know which school you're going to. And I brought the school and I brought the fees and I showed it to him. And he made me a deal, him and his wife. They said, if you stay with us for 1 year, we'll have you, but at that time I was married. And so, I was going to leave. I will have you come to the clinic. I'll teach you everything that they will teach you in school.
Oh, wow.
The only condition is that you would leave my office at 2 o'clock to go home, to get the kids from school, to make them dinner, to take them to their, the Hebrew school, take them on play dates, take them to hockey practice, whatever I needed to do. And so for 1 year, stay with us 1 more year. And this is what, we will do. And I jumped to it. And the car that they had bought when I started the job at age 24 to babysit their children, they gave me that car because now I had to commute. Wow. So they gave me that car. And so I was driving back and forth. So the year came and everything worked out really well. And I was making like $300 a week. And the year came to an end, and it was time, our deal had come to an end. And he walked over to an OBGYN clinic next door. And he said, Pamela, they need a medical assistant. I'm going to go over there and talk for you. And so he went over there. The nurses and medical assistants, they were his patients. He was a primary care physician. And he said, we know you, you're a trusted person. You have a great heart. We really want to help you. And he went over there and he spoke to the manager, and they called me for an interview. And after I went there to the OBGYN clinic for an interview, the manager told me about the job, and she said, the doctor you're going to be assigned to is a doctor that is very rich. She and her husband, they're doctors. They're very rich and they don't know the value of people who are immigrants and poor, and she would fire you on the spot. She will embarrass you in front of patients. This is what she's done to her cook. This is what she's done to her maid. I have to tell you this up front. I said, okay, no problem. I want the job, right? I was going to get health insurance. And then 2 weeks later, she called me back after the interview and she said, we have people who are better qualified than you, so you didn't get the job. I was very upset. And, you know, I just trust the Lord. And then 3 days later, she said, you know, no one who we thought were better than you took the job. So are you still interested? I was like, sure. So I guess the stories that she told them, you know, you're going to be talked down to, you're going to be embarrassed, you're going to be, you know,
Scare people away.
Yes. Well, fine. I took the job, and myself and that doctor became such best of friends. When I was going to have my son around Easter, we always go to church on Good Friday. She said, "You're still coming to church with me." She was a Christian, but she wasn't devout. Me coming to work for her, and being respectful, because in our country as immigrants, we learn to respect our teachers, our doctors, our pastors, our parents, our elderly neighbors. We learn to respect them. So I brought that. So I never talk back to her. I always say, yes, doctor, I did what I needed to do. And that is how I started out in the field of women's health. And then 2 years later, after that experience, I came to New York City to work, and I was hired as a medical assistant for a group of medical assistants that work with an OBGYN group. And then after that, I decided, you know, my salary was increasing a little bit, and apparently it was too much for them to pay me. And it wasn't a lot. It was like maybe a fraction of what I make now. And they wanted to cut my salary. So I was like, you know what? I basically run this place for 7 years. The best nursing, the best clinical support that we can provide to the doctors. I'm going to go back to nursing school. The only thing that's stopping me is having that nursing degree.
Yeah.
I was 37 at the time, and I spoke to my husband at the time, and I said, I want to go back to school just for 1 year to do the preclinicals and to get my nursing degree. And he said, sure, go back. So I went, and then, for the next 10 years, I went through school, went through divorce, went through raising 2 children, went through everything. But within 10 years, I went from nothing to a master's degree. And 10 out of those years, I spent at Columbia University, and they actually paid for my first degree. Columbia University here is their infertility clinic is where I was. And so I developed relationships. I became a nurse while I was there, and I became the head nurse for the egg and embryo donation program.
Wow.
And in that program, I get the women at their worst. This is the place where they're not able to have a baby with their own eggs. They're not even able to have a baby with their partner's sperm because some of them are not partnered. Mm-hmm. So I headed the egg and embryo donation program. The hand holding that I needed to do, I did it out of a heart of concern because I was a mom already. And I was able to meet these patients at the point of an inner need. I'm a spiritual person, and I would pray, I would say, God, whichever woman you want me to touch through your power, send that person my way. Mm-hmm. And this book contains stories of 8 women who happily wrote their stories for me.
Wow, that's struggled. A testimonial.
Yes. And, Columbia was a very, very busy place, and there were 10 nurses. There were 2 floors, and we were assigned different floors on different days. One floor is for the IVF. One floor is for the non-IVF, like the IUIs. And so the harder cases were the ones on the IVF floor. And the doctors observed how I treated the patients and saw a difference between me and the other nurses. So the medical director for the egg and embryo donation program approached me, and he said, Pamela, we're looking for a certain type of nurse for this program. We think that you are the one. How would you like to head this program? And I took it. And that is where most of the situations and the stories came out of, because there would be this woman who, as nurses, as clinicians, we're looking for a diagnosis, and then we're looking to formulate a plan to treat that diagnosis. And behind all of that is the emotions, the psychological challenges, the financial challenges, the marital breakdowns. Yeah. We don't see that. We're looking at the body, and we're looking at how to fix this problem. But I think God has allowed me to identify those other factors behind all of it. And that's how I was able to meet women at the point of their need, and they trusted me. And they went on to having their babies. They stayed in touch. They sent pictures, they sent video. And out of that is what compelled me to write a book, to offer inspiration, to let people know there is hope, to let people get an understanding of what infertility is like. And part one, I give an introduction to infertility, all the many diagnoses, all the different types of treatment plans. Part two are the beautiful, beautiful stories of these women, some of them who had known God, but found their faith strengthened through a one-on-one relationship. There was a patient who would come to me and she would pull me into this room and she said, pray for me. You know, just that, just pray for me. There was another woman who, after she became pregnant, with a donated embryo, she had a psychological breakdown. She didn't want to do an abortion, but she wanted to lose the baby. It's like, the enemy was tormenting her mind. And she would just show up at the floor and she would say, pray for me. She wrote her story as well. And so it's one of the women who bought this book, she wrote a review on Amazon. And she said it is a combination of science and a prayer. Love, science, and a prayer. And I hope that it would minister to women throughout the world, because this book is not only available in America, it's available in different countries. So that is what brought me here. But just in a backdrop, I'd gone to a church several years before, maybe about 10 years ago from today. And this preacher looked at me and said, you are called to minister to women. But this person does not know me. He was a visiting preacher at my friend's church. And I was like, I always liked children. I would give to the orphanage. I would give to kids. Where is this coming from? But I learned not to doubt, because I had doubted something someone told me before, and I repented because it came to pass and I did not doubt. And then I watched it unfolded to a point where indeed I was ministering to women. And when I finished writing this book, that's when I remembered that, in fact, this was said to me years ago.
I have so many questions. I don't know the next 10 minutes going to be enough, but first of all, and I'm sure Sarah got questions too, so we're going to have to fight with each other. Well, first of all, I want to say that faith is a miracle. I mean, having a baby is a miracle.
Yes.
And many times we think that we're young, we have time. And I think a lot of issue here is people put career first and family later, because they think, oh, I'm still got plenty of time. I don't have the time for the baby yet. Let me build this career. And then, next thing we know, well, we're in the 30s and we'll start to saying, ooh, now is a little rush. And then when we're approaching 40, it's like, ooh, now what happened now? So there's the sense of stress coming with it on top of everything. And you are so right about not just the emotion, but the financial, and not knowing if that's going to work, because every shot is $10,000. I don't know how much it is now, but I think that's the minimum back then.
Yes.
And every other day you have to go to take blood and do inseminations and, do injection for, I don't know, I forgot, but it's not easy to take time off from work to do all of that and be restful coming back to work. So I totally understand, and not just like to serve those women, you can casually treat it as a number, as a patient. Like, I think that you are truly called for administering that population, because without a word of assurance, comfort, and prayers, people cannot trust you. And there's another layer of stress. So I want to thank you for taking that time to know the people that you're treating. So my question is, at what age people have to start worry about not be able to conceive naturally?
Yes. So generally speaking, as soon as, women start to get into the age 35, 36, generally speaking, fertility declines.
Yeah.
And not only the quality of our eggs, but also the quantity of our eggs.
Right.
We're born with all the eggs we will ever have. We're not going to be getting more eggs from anywhere else. And so over time, we do shed a crop of eggs every month from the time we start menstruating. And by the time you are in your late 30s, you start having less and less of eggs. But there is a percentage, I believe, maybe less than 10% of women who will have premature ovarian failure. I spoke to a woman just yesterday with my job that I do consultations for women who are going to go through treatment. I work with a company that manages fertility benefits throughout the country for major insurance companies. And so I do consults. And so I spoke with a woman yesterday who is only 36 years old, and she was diagnosed with premature ovarian failure. She was having hot flashes and she was in college, and she did not know that it was really, she was going into premature ovarian failure. So that's a small percentage, but it's very real. So she's going to adopt embryos that her friends who've been through IVF and have frozen embryos remaining, that happily are going to donate those embryos to her. And she happened to be talking to me randomly. The customer service agents selected me to be the nurse for the consult. And I said, well, you're talking to the nurse who was the head nurse for the egg and embryo donation. And it's beautiful to adopt an embryo. It is beautiful to adopt a child. If you can love a puppy,
Yeah.
you can love a child.
I see that factor. A lot of people, more and more people do that. But if, there's still a lot of us, you want to see your DNA. Would that kid look like your grandfather or your father or, that's still that kind of factor. And I totally agree. There's so many kids out there that needs love. I mean, ultimately, if we can't carry one, we can't produce one, then give the love to the people out there. Now I'm going to let Sarah sneak in for a question if she has one, because I've got.
But I want to come back to your question. Now more and more insurances are covering elective egg freezing. So
That's my next question.
Yes.
Yes.
Women who have insurance, they should check to see if they're covered for elective egg freezing, where they can, freeze their eggs. They'll go through the same thing like an IVF and they freeze their eggs. Yesterday, I had a man call me. About 5 months ago, we were trying to get his insurance to pay for a certain portion that he was covered for, so that his wife, who froze eggs several years ago, can have those eggs thawed and fertilized with his sperm now that they're husband and wife. She did this way before she even met this guy and married him.
Smart girl.
He called me yesterday, and for months I didn't hear from him. And he didn't have to call me. We were just, I was just a nurse and consult for him. He said, I want to tell you, we are 17 weeks pregnant with a baby boy from the eggs that she thawed years ago and his sperm. And it really made my day yesterday. Huh?
Is it pretty successful rate for
it's getting better. It's actually getting better. The technology is getting better. The fact that insurances are covering this more and more is because some of the doubts have been removed. Well, maybe 10 years ago, the procedure wasn't that successful. Yes, you would freeze the egg.
Now she's coming back to carry the baby.
She is pregnant with the baby.
Okay.
So basically, they thaw her eggs. They fertilized it with her sperm. She has an embryo. She's tested the embryo. It's genetically normal. She had several, but this was the one that was normal. And she implanted it. Most patients don't get pregnant the first try. She got pregnant 17 weeks in. So the encouragement there is for women to take charge of their fertility and to do an egg freezing cycle. Look, you may never need this egg, right? It's security in the bank. You may never need it. You may find your partner earlier in life and you'll be able to conceive naturally. But if you do happen to need, you have that security banked up,
Do you have to do 2 or 3 and re-inseminate it, or you just only need to do 1?
Well, you can do 1. Well, she did 2 cycles, and out of, I think, a total of 15 eggs, she got 1 normal.
Okay, but because I know that IVF, you usually have to inseminate 2 or 3, and sometimes that's why you have twins and triplets.
Some patients do get pregnant the first time. Some patients don't get pregnant the second time, maybe the third time. But some patients do get pregnant the first time. The risk of wanting to transfer 2 embryos because you failed a cycle before is one that has to be taken with a lot of consideration, because every attempt is different. And if you transfer 2 embryos, chances are both of them might take. So there is a less than 50% chance, but that's the chance. And then there is less than 10% chance of one of those can split and become triplet. And I've had that happen. I've seen that happen.
That's another different kind of stress, right?
And then you put the whole pregnancy at risk, because now your doctor is talking to you about reducing the pregnancy.
Right.
Basically going in and stopping the heartbeat of one of them, which, you know, it's not up my alley. I would not recommend that. So I would say to my patient, just err on the side of caution. Right? So that is a possibility. So, you know, there's so many different aspects of it, but I really like what I do. I like to really be transparent with my patients, give them the data, give them the advice. At the end of the day, the decision is between them and their reproductive endocrinologist. But I'm always happy when they succeed, and I'm sad when they don't.
Yeah,
And,
I have a burning question to ask you. Is there any research or study that identified that the condition of the woman previously would affect the infertility?
yes, definitely. So there is, you know, back many years ago, there was something that was used to treat women. And this was years ago, you know, like my mother, if she was living in that part of the world, would have been affected, where she would have problems having a child, or she would have a child with birth defects. In this country here, we don't really see that, but what we do see, women who smoke, women who are obese, those factors do affect their fertility. It's harder for them to get pregnant. Their egg quality decline with smoking. So those are pre-existing conditions that might impact. Also, if there is a sexually transmitted disease that can cause pelvic inflammatory disease, and this is chlamydia, gonorrhea, that can cause blockage in the fallopian tube. So, you know, a lot of times when women contract these, it's not because they're promiscuous, but because they've been with a partner who's promiscuous. And so innocently, they did not know that they've contracted this and caused their fallopian tubes to have a problem. So there are several pre-existing conditions that work against a woman's fertility.
Okay.
So there's many factors into making a successful pregnancy, right? Not just the woman.
Yeah.
It could be a lot
Not,
of them
no,
about
you know,
men
gone are
too.
the days. Gone are the days when infertility was a woman's problem. It never was a woman's problem.
Right. So you treat both
and,
men and women.
Yes, men, women, and there's the unexplained, where there's no anatomical or clinical issues with either the man or the woman, but for some reason or the other, they just can't get pregnant. So it's, you know, back in the days, in the patriarchal times, women used to be put away because they couldn't have a child. You know, King Henry VIII killed his wives because
I
they couldn't
know,
get
yeah. I mean, we came a long way. We've came a long way.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and I think men's always like, do I need to count my sperms?
And that factor really caused women, and this is a great month to talk about this, because some women have no fertility issues, but their husband do, and then that puts a different strain in their relationship. And women have to all together be so resilient, whether they're the one with the fertility diagnosis or their partner is, because it looks like they are the ones carrying most of the burden, you know, most of the burden.
Yeah, I think to struggle to get pregnant and then you overdo it and you get triplet or you get twin, and that's another set of stress, financial burden. So you have to be ready for every single front, either failure or success. It's all come with an effort of more resilience.
Yeah, and some people told me I should have a Facebook group to talk about these things, because even yesterday I had a consult with another patient who was pregnant with twins in India. And she had a cervical incompetence, where her cervix would open before it's time to give birth to the child. And she
Yeah.
lost one of her twins at 22 weeks because of incompetent cervix, and she was in India. And they were able to, and I give them credit, they were able to have her on bed rest, put a cervical cerclage where they stitch the cervix so it doesn't open on its own, involuntarily. And they kept her, and she gave birth to the second twin.
Second twin.
So it's two babies. She lost one of them.
Okay.
Because her
Okay.
cervix
So the
opened
second.
before
Okay.
it
Not the
should
second
have.
set of twins that she's
No,
having.
no. It's
Okay.
one out of the two twins.
I
So
see.
she lost
Yeah.
one of them because of that, and they were able to save the other twin and took
Right.
her to full term. It was amazing. This was in India. She told me, I did a consult with her yesterday, and she told me this, and I give credit to that medical team there.
Yeah. Well, what you're doing is such a blessing, because even I think, coming from a poverty country, the third world, people just have kids like left and right. My husband's family is about 8, 9 people, siblings, and my cousin, they're all like 8, 9. Mine is considering average. It's like my mom have 6 kids, and that's like average in the smaller size. But coming to America, as I become to the age of reproductive in that period, I've seen more and more and more women who have infertility problem. And I don't know, like I said, because career stress and whatever, but there's some multiple factors that more and more nowadays that people have get into it. And I know that you probably have some method of holistic Reikis or
yes.
acupuncture.
And holistic, you're touching, it's not like you read this book, because you're touching on everything here. Up to today,
I have been around.
90 minutes massage today, because it helps me.
Yeah.
And that is another aspect. I spoke about acupuncture and massage in this book as well. But I think
Facebook group is a good place for you to start, because it's an ongoing dialogue that's out there. And then, like you said, another option is for adoptions. And there's so many branches that deciding to get pregnant is one thing. And the outcome of either way, there is ongoing support needed for the woman and the men who decide to have a family.
Well, not every family is ready to hear about adoption or donor eggs or donated embryos until they've come to the end of their life.
Right.
And I've had one guy who wrote his adoption story for me as well in this book. And he talked about how him and his wife went through that, and they adopted a beautiful, beautiful little girl.
Well, it looked like I mean, it's a big conversation. We can't condense it in 30 minutes. But we really appreciate you and for the book. And I think, as many people who facing this problem, I would encourage you to reach out to talk to Pamela, or or at least get the book. So yeah, I know that we're crunching on time, but personally, I want to thank you for being here and share with us what you're doing, and many struggles that people could have been eliminated if they prevented or if they talk ahead of time.
Yes, and hopefully, another month, another team that I can talk on, that would be great. This book is available in Amazon, and it's also on my website, gentlenursinfusion.com.
Yeah, we got another 9 themes of the month. So, take some time off and then come back and educate us some more.
Well, thank you so much. It was a great opportunity to be on your platform today. And I thank Pat Iyer, my editor, for making that way for me. And I really appreciate both of you. Keep up the good work. You're really bringing a lot of hope.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and sharing all the wonderful information to give hope for the people that are struggling and stressful, that I have been in it myself, and I gave up. I did not continue.
We all need support. We women need support in that area, because it is a stigma. and sometimes you feel failure because you could not fulfill
Yes.
the one obligation. Obligations look like, you know, that's what you are born for, but that is
Yes.
all wrong. That is all wrong.
Yeah.
We are not failure. Our reproductive system may be failure, but we are not failure. So I want
And it's
everybody
not
to
all
know
our reproductive system either.
that's
One of my
true.
patients, yes,
That
one of
is
my
true.
patients who wrote her story also, she worked with children in New York City, and she said that when she was going through this, she felt devalued as a woman. She felt lesser
Yeah.
contribution she can make to society
Yeah.
if she was not a mom. And those things they face silently and quietly,
Mm.
and it tears you up inside.
Oh, we can go into that topic about culture, because I know Indian culture or Chinese culture, or even Cambodian culture. If you're a daughter-in-law and you couldn't produce an heir to the family, that would be another topic that we can use another
Yes,
3 hours to talk about. But
yes.
but thank you so much for
Absolutely.
being here, and we wish you the best with your book, and you know, come back to visit us sometime in the future.